Holy cow, I can personally not believe it that I am sitting on this set right now. This is personally unreal for me. I am with 4 of 8 members of the Funky4+1, and rather than introduce them, I am going to let them go down the line and introduce themselves. Sir?
May I just interject? I believe, if I'm not, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was 9 members because...
Jazzy Jeff?
No, they were the Funky4+1, and then we were the Funky4.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. So that would make them 5 members and us 4, so that would be 9 people.
Oh, it's 9 members?
Yes.
Well, because of the +1.
Because of the +1.
Oh
yeah,
my God.
Right.
Well, 4 of the 9,
Yeah, 4
and
out of the
technically
9.
6 of the 9
Right.
are in the building today.
That's right.
And remind me again who you are?
Oh, I'm just a janitor. I sweep up around here. My name is Raheem, and I was blessed to share the stage and microphones with my beautiful, legendary queen of all female MCs, sister, Sha Rock, sitting right next to me. That's right.
And let me interject. My name is MC Sha Rock. I'm the first female MC of hip-hop culture, and I'm also a founding member of hip-hop culture. And for everybody out there wondering why I say that, I'm going to tell you later.
Oh, stay tuned. To Sha Rock's right, we have...
Yes, my name is Jazzy Jeff.
Turn his mic up. Turn him up.
King Hero.
Yes, my name is Jazzy Jeff from the original MC Jazzy Jeff. Friends of these characters.
Put some high end on his mic. Yeah.
And who we got down there on the end?
1, 2, 1, 2. My name is Rodney Stone, but I'm professionally known as Rodney C. I was also one half of the original Double Trouble, featured in the first hip-hop breakdance graffiti movie, Wild Style. I'm also 1/5 member of the Funky4 plus 1 more, and the Funky4+1. We were the very first hip-hop group from the Bronx, New York to get a legitimate record deal. We were the very first hip-hop group with a female. Her name is Sha Rock. She is the first female of hip-hop. And we were the very first hip-hop group to do national television. We did Saturday Night Live with Deborah Harry on Valentine's Day, 1981.
I'm going to start this whole interview off kind of in the beginning. Okay, so we had on the Brothers Disco, and they were telling us how, you know, the very first MC that they had, you know, chosen was KK. Okay, and soon after, Sha, you were also chosen. And what were you doing prior? I mean, how did you decide to start MCing prior to, you know, the Brothers Disco finding you?
Well, in 1976, where's your cameras at? In 1976, I was a B-girl. I used to go to junior high school, and I ran into these guys that, you know, were break dancers. They taught me how to do it. I used to practice with them, go up on the 9 on 169th Street, Webster Avenue, 169th and Washington Avenue, and we used to just break dance in the park. Throughout the year of 76, I used to travel all over the Bronx. I was a nomadic B-girl, which means that if you was a B-girl or a B-boy and you was traveling all over the Bronx, you knew who was out there. You knew who was breakdancing. You knew who the DJ was. You knew if there was MCs out there. There wasn't really live MCs the way that we did it in the Bronx in 78, from 77 to 78, and I'll let you know after we get through that how that went down. So I was a nomadic B-girl, and for the whole year of 76 after that, you know, traveling around with B-boys like Charlie Rock from the Zulu Nation, he's an A1 B-boy. Who else? Iron Mike from Edenwald Projects, Artie Choke from Edenwald Projects, just traveling around breakdancing with many people that was out there and just took breakdancing serious. And if you was that nomadic B-girl or B-boy, you knew who was out there. You knew who was out there. And most of the ones that you seen, the early on MCs that you saw that was in the Bronx that were B-girls and B-boys, they either became DJs or they were MCs. So for anybody to say that they were MC during that time, we know who was and who wasn't.
And what made you What made you, I mean, other than the fact they had the most amazing sound system, what made you believe in the Brothers Disco enough to join their crew?
Well, at the time, you know, I'm doing a movie, y'all, so I can't tell everything. So let me just explain. You know, I was in high school. And so when I was in high school, I ran into my daughter's father, which his name was Richie T at that time. And he invited me to come and audition in the end of 77, like November sometime, to come and audition for, you know, the Brothers Disco, who was holding auditions for MCs. At that time, Richie T used to, you know, get on the mic, but, you know, he used to play around with the mic, you know, and of course, you had KK, you know, so at that time, you know, I knew a young lady that I used to go to school with up in the Vanderchild High School on Gun Hill Road, who was a friend of mine. Although I lived downtown, she lived uptown. So I took her with me to audition, you know, to become, you know, an MC.
And you got chosen and she didn't?
She wasn't serious. She wasn't serious, but I was.
And what made you, before I get on to the other guys, just because there's so many fascinating elements, what made you, even before that, want to try and practice and learn how to MC? What was it in your life, or who were you looking at that made you want to even do that?
Okay, so let me tell y'all about the timeline from my perspective of what happened as far as the hip hop culture. Like in the end of 77, the beginning of 70, the end of 77 is when I, you know, got down with the Brothers Disco. We were not yet the Funky4. We were just rhyming. They had KK Rockwell, right? And then Keith came maybe like a month before I did. And then they had Richie T, but we were not yet the Funky4. So I was going to some of the parties and getting on the mic rhyming with them. But depending on who made the flyer at that time, you know, before Buddy Esquire started making the flyer, they would never put our names on the flyer, just KK Rockwell, and Raheem could contest to that. And so I auditioned for, you know, to become, you know, a part of the Brothers Disco, but not yet formed the Funky4. I got down, I was with KK Rockwell and Keith, and we were rhyming. And let me explain something to you, because we're going in, they're going to talk about the Funky4 side, but what I want the world to know, and the reason why I say I am a founding member of hip hop culture, simply because all the elements that y'all may see now, you know what I'm saying, like the B-girl and the B-boys, even though some say they started off in 71 or 73, but I know when I came on in 76 as a B-girl, it was going strong. Around 70s, in the 77, 78, that was the turn of how MCs were rhyming. There were only 2 groups in the Bronx. And hear what I say, because they got all of these people that's running around here writing stories, professors that's in colleges writing stories about something that they don't know. Because when you're in the Bronx, they're not going to tell the story of another group. For 40 years, they had a chance to just tell the story the way they want y'all to believe. But let me tell y'all, the Brothers Disco was the most dominant group in the Bronx. And I'll tell you why. Because they had me, they had we were 4 MCs, we had the baddest sound system, we had Flash's crew, Flash's manager, Ray Chandler, would come to our manager, Jazzy D, and say, look, we know that y'all uptown. Y'all got this huge following uptown. But we see you now coming downtown. Now, I didn't live uptown. Breakout lived uptown, but me and Raheem lived downtown. KK, Rockwell, and Keith lived downtown. And Barron lived on the west side of downtown. Ray Chandler, which was Flash's manager, asked to form an alliance because we had a huge following. Form an alliance with them so we can come downtown and make money together in these clubs. Now, we were coming downtown anyway. We was all over every park that you can name, every school that you can name. The Brothers Disco and the Funky4 was running the Bronx. Running the Bronx. But see, y'all won't hear that because they left that story out. And I would never have an opportunity to tell y'all again how it really went down. I was there on the front, right on the front line. So I'm going to tell y'all. When you talk about battling didn't start from the 80s, guys. Battling started from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 and the Funky4. 78. We started the battle culture. I can prove it. We have flyers. We have tapes. No other group was battling. Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and the Funky4, but at that time, Grandmaster Flash wasn't the Furious Five, they were just the Furious Four. We held down New York City. We started the battle culture.
Who would win?
Funky4.
How many?
Now, but they would say that they would win. They were good, don't get me wrong. They were good, don't get me wrong. Just like they had good MCs, we had good MCs too. You understand what I'm saying? It was the same thing. So it depends on who the people like. Who the people say that won at that time. It was always the people's choice. But listen, we had followers before Twitter had that blue bird. You understand what I'm saying? All we needed was flyers. We had little or no resources. We were young entrepreneurs that created a $1 billion business. Do y'all hear me? And the thing was, it was never about money for us. It was about the culture. It was about going from city to borough, to Staten Island, to Long Island, to Connecticut. We wasn't stagnated. We produced and went to every place that you could imagine. I have over 500 flyers in all the clubs that we played. Sometimes we would play 3 times a club in a day. But that's not to mention, I didn't finish yet.
Okay.
That is not to mention the parts that we played. That's not to mention the parts today. So let me also tell you, when you talk about cassette tapes, they have mixtapes now. But guess what? The Funky4 and the Furious 5 created the mixtape era. It was the cassette tape era. You understand what I'm saying? So when we perform, you had Richie T or anybody else that would bring their boxes and record what we were doing or how we was rhyming. Just like y'all may see on the mixtape or hear on the mixtapes now, it was our cassette tape. So we created the mixtape era. We had the cassette tape era because they were selling them out of stores, out of, trading them with their friends, carrying around the world. We created that era. So that mixtape era comes from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5 and the Funky4 because we had the majority of the tapes out there that people would fight to get our tapes. Graffiti. Now a lot of my friends that say, oh, graffiti ain't a part of hip hop. The hell they say it is for me. You know why? Let me tell you why. Because Tony Tone, y'all may know him as a part of the Cold Crush. Now, this is not to offend anybody, but I'm just giving you a little history because you won't hear it from nobody else. Tony Tone, that started the Cold Crush in the 80s, was with the Brothers Disco and the Funky4 first. He was a part of the Brothers Disco. He was our security, and he would also help DJ Barron set up the equipment. Now, Tony Tone bought Buddy Esquire to us in '78. Buddy Esquire started off tagging trains as a graffiti artist. So how can you not connect graffiti to hip hop simply because it transformed over to Buddy being the first one to ever make flyers for the Funky4. We were trendsetters. We weren't following trends. We created the trends. Hear what I'm telling y'all. The Funky4 created those trends. After that, Buddy began to start, making flyers like in late 78, 79 for everybody. But he came just like Phase 2. Phase 2 was also a graffiti writer, a graffiti artist that later transformed over to start doing flyers. But Buddy took it to another level. He started doing flyers. He started painting, graffiti on jackets. Breakout had a doom buggy with that Buddy Esquire painted, Breakout on his doom buggy.
And Anthony Riley.
And Rodney C. And all the Funky4 had graffiti painted by Buddy Esquire. So how do you not say that graffiti is not a part of hip-hop? Subculture, whatever, is still a part. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a lot of other things that I want to tell you. And also, let me also mention, when I say we created trends, let's take 45 King Mark. He started with us. Mark started with the Funky4. He was our record boy. You understand? He was the record boy to DJ Breakout. Mark 45 used to, learn everything, all the basic records that he, that he would later on take to Jay-Z, Hard Knock Life, or make Queen Latifah songs. But he came out of our camp. We taught him, everything that he needed to know about music. And he'll tell you that. You understand what I'm saying? So when I tell y'all about the Funky4 being trendsetters and being the most dominant group, and don't get me wrong, It was nobody else but the Furious 5 and the Funky4 that was holding New York City down. And don't let nobody else tell you different. Don't let nobody else tell you different. We can prove it. Flyers, cassettes. We can prove that we started the battle era. Flyers, cassettes. We can prove it. So forever, whatever commentator, whatever female MC that was in my era, or whatever male MC that tell y'all something different, y'all got to start checking them. Because they have 40 years to lie. 40 years to tell y'all and try to figure out a story that, you know, nobody could debunk. But they always thought that Shy Rock was that little shy girl from back in the days that I would just fall to the back and not say nothing. But I wasn't in New York City. You understand? But I'm here to make sure that the Funky4 and the Brothers Disco and MC Shy Rock, people know that it doesn't matter if you was first female soloist or you was there. I am the one to set it off for every female that you hear today. And y'all got to start asking questions. Because once you start asking questions and you break their story down, you can tell if they lying or not.
Well, we have your evidence. We have, and let's just not open. First of all, while you were talking, first of all, round of applause for Shy Rock, everyone, for breaking it down like that. I think that was really needed, and I thank you, high five. I thank you because
I love hip-hop.
That was needed. So let's illustrate this. We were showing the flyers that prove what you're talking about. Now let's show one of your earliest performances in 1980 at the Kitchen. This is one of those clubs that hip-hop acts were not being booked at. It was a white club, and they were doing a lot of punk rock. But I'll tell you, this is from 1980, one of the best recordings visually and auditorily that you will actually see. Check this out. This is 1980, The Kitchen with the Funky4+1. Run that video, PJ.
If y'all want to hear us do it again, somebody say yeah! Hold up, somebody say hell yeah! Oh yeah! Okay, Breakout, if you ready.
Check it out. Check it out. 2, 1, 2. Hey, check it out. Now we can take it from the T.O.P. again.
T.O.P.
Breakout, do it right. Breakout, could you do it right this time for us?
Yeah. Let's just rap a little bit. Let's just rap a little bit. Just take it from the top, Breakout. Let our reggae play one more time. Nope. Yeah, one more time. Do it up, y'all. Come on.
One time. Check it out.
Just continue. Rock the house. Sure enough, everybody gonna turn it out. Well, okay, you rock well, cause I rock so well. And every time you hear my name, girl, it rings a bell. Well, I'm little on the scene making history with all the fly girls yelling, take me.
Rockin', the can't be stopped for all the fly gonna hit the top.
Well, I'm key, but you can call me Geese. You know the reason why, cause I'm the women please. I'm Jazzy Jeff with the most finesse. And I do it to the rhythm till I do it the best. Now we're the Funky4.
I'm the +1 boy.
And this is the way we go back and forth.
With the 5 MCs that are too much, and we rock the mics with the master time. We're on time, we're masterminds. We hypnotize when we run down the rhyme.
Therefore, fly guys, I'm the best female. Telling the truth, not a fairy tale.
Now listen to the story that pop down. This guarantees some time around. We said it once, we said it twice. We're proving to y'all we're better than nice. Check it out, check it out. Party people in the place, New York.
I want to rock the world.
Oh, check it out.
Shabba, don't stop.
Just get on your mind when you're ready to rock.
Cause the sun won't shine, the rain won't stop. We got the style, you call punk rock. Just get about the jail, time to have some fun. With 2 DJs, +1 to the people out there. We want y'all to know we are the ones with the magical show. With 2 DJs and 5 MCs, 4 other fellas, +1 is me. We're here to please everybody out there. Forget about the problems, get about your hands. Just get on the floor, don't you be shy. You can do it too, just give it a try. To the people out there, we want the best. Special guarantee is what we possess. We'll be back on the mic with a master plan. We do it for the girl, for the boy, the man. Most people go around just thinking anyway. We want you to hear what we say. The things we say, the things we do. It's like running the race and the low come through. That's a line, the competition to be. But we are the ones, they are the ones. I am the one with the motion need. The Funky4 got rhymes galore. I'm the +1 boy, shine, and I'm down below. Rock well, don't stop forever. Just get on the mic, just get on the mic, just get on the mic when you're ready to rock.
Check it out, y'all. You don't stop. I wanna cruise around the world in my yacht. You wanna go to Hawaii where everything's hot. You wanna go to the island where all the girls home. You wanna boogie and walk to the break and go. You wanna 77C, do it complete. You wanna have for the girl like a dead in the Z. You wanna meet the president, shake his hand. You wanna go through the never pay.
You want it.
Must be big. My pockets feel fat.
You want it.
Everyone to know that's where I'm at. I'm just that sweet. No feel you need. I'm ready to rock to any funky beat. I'm down below with my
Oh.
That's why I'm down with the funk. These five MCs don't take no job. Real rock to your beat. Take care of someone. So keep on the shoes, relax your feet. This stranger booking to the funky beat. Cause the sound you hear are so unique.
To the beat, and you don't quit. Come on, rock the sea, come and get a little bit.
Stop, y'all. You don't stop.
I got the qualifications to rock the best. There's no limitations to my finesse. Got the modifications all terrain. I won't fight a rhyme and I won't imitate another MC when he's running down rhymes. Cause half the time it's just running down. But that's alright because I know someday I put him in check and take his rep away. You know the name is known from land to left. Cause I'm a super fly guy with the mic in my hand. My name is known from sea to sea. And when I'm on the mic, I go by the history. I'm a mystical magical man on the mic. When I run down the rhyme, it will be a delight. Cause I'm a mean machine, say what? That's the plan. You see what I mean, but there's a mic and rhyme. I'm an inspiration all over the nation. I'll let you know that I'm a disco sensation. Rock, rock, y'all, to the beat, and you don't quit. Keep coming in a little bit.
Check it out, y'all. You don't stop.
And I hear ya, well I hear ya, empty rock the scene. We gotta rap on the mic, make history with all the black girls yelling. Take me, I was walking down the block by myself with my pants on my top and I didn't have belt. The pants I wore was a very nice. Hey, watch the deep red light. I saw this girl and she looked so fine. I said, I looked, she was on my mind. I went over to give her a rap when I found out where she really was at. I'm out of business and moved away. I went to a phone and called an OJ. OJ pulled up to the phone, it was dark green with a light green tone. Before I finish, let me tell you straight that the car at the phone was a Vision 98. I got in everywhere to go through. We stopped at a liquor store to buy some booze. We turned around and when they blocked back, and I went in the T-Box to buy some black. We got so drunk, we got so high that we started back and did the ride. Didn't get hurt, nobody died. Strumming everybody and ride, ride, ride.
Hey, Mercedes.
Young lady, Jazzy Jeff. Don't stop a melody. Just, you know you might get on the house right. Check it out, y'all. You don't stop. Say I'm Jazzy Jeff. I am the best. I can make your body move from right to left. I can make your body move from left to right. And he can make your body move on me all right. I'm the one MC that's proving to be the latest #1 nominee. Cause I got a little rap and a fancy style. I'm above MCs on top of the piles. I rhyme all the time. I mess with mine. Make MCs want to bite my rhymes. I consider myself as one of the best. Cause I have been taught to keep the finesse. My rhymes are slick. My rhymes are bad. Something other MCs never had. When I start to rock, I just don't stop. Singing that death rock, no MC guitar. Just give me your meaning, you'll never forget. Just give me the hour, I'll give you the power. Just give me the test, I'll do it the best. Just give me the time, I'll give you a rhyme. Just give me a while, you'll like my style. Just give me the mic and I'll rock all night. Rock the house, Jazzy Jeff. Rock, shot, rock, turn it out. Shot, rock. Don't stop the lady, just get on your mic. Just get on your mic, just get on your mic and rock the house right.
Let's go to work to the golden road. You go there, go there, go there. Work your body, work your body, but make sure you don't jerk your body. Do it. Do it. Say do that body to the funky side. Come on, everybody do. Get up and get down to the funky side. Everybody out there, come on and get down. Uptown, rock the house and downtown, rock the house and east side, rock the house and west side, rock the house and Manhattan, rock the house. Wherever you are, keep cooling out. Until the beat that makes you wanna rap. Come on, rock well, cut out the crap. And when you on the mic and start to rap, and let everybody know you can never be the whack.
You know that.
And you know that.
And I know.
And he know.
And we know that.
You know, rock well.
When I rap, shot, rock, I can never be the whack.
And we here rock well.
Check it out, y'all, and you don't stop. One time.
1, 2.
Yeah.
1, 2, party people.
One time.
It was a real pleasure to come down here tonight to play for y'all at the kitchen.
Hey everybody, that was a 1980 performance from the Funky4 at the Kitchen. And if you're just tuning in, I'm Jeremy Beaver, CEO and founder of Listen Vision and the Hip Hop Museum, and we are in the middle of interviewing the Funky4, and one of the original members, one of the founding members of the group is right to my right, Raheem. Tell me what it was like the very first day, the very first moment that you were asked to become a part of this group. Do you remember that day or moment?
Well, yes, I do, pretty vividly actually. So I was going to Truman High School, Harry S. Truman High School in the North Bronx up in Co-op City. And a guy by the name of Theron Johnson, who later became an MC and kind of mirrored his MC style after my MC style, and called himself Shaheem because I called myself Raheem. So Shaheem was a member of a group called the Infinity Squad, or Infinity 4, Grand Mixer DXT. Grand Mixer DXT, or DST at the time, myself and Shaheem, we all attended Truman High School. And so in between classes, we would always, chop it up, kick it, whatever, talk. And DST would always invite me to the parties that he would do at the different places in Mount Vernon. I never went. I never took him up on his offer, but at the same time, he had not changed his name to Theron yet. He had not changed his name to Shaheem yet. Theron was kind of discouraging me from going to DST's parties, and he was like, he knew a DJ named DJ Barron that was in need of an MC, and he lived on the same block, and so he wanted me to meet DJ Barron. So he took me, we went after school one day over to Undercliff Avenue, where Theron and DJ Barron both lived on the same block. And so he took me to DJ Barron's crib, and they had the equipment set up there, and I went in, and I don't think Barron was there from my recollection. I think his brother Kimani was there. So I don't think that I initially got an opportunity to audition for DJ Barron there. I believe, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I auditioned for Kimani and Soccer first, and then they told Barron about me, and Barron told them to invite me to Edenwald Community Center to their next jam. So I go to Edenwald Community Center to their jam, and it happened to be a battle between the Brothers Disco and a crew from Co-op City called the Little Brothers. So none of the Funky Four were not a cohesive unit yet. Shy Rock was there, KK and Keith, and Richard T. Now, so I'm sitting on the stage, like on a stool, waiting for DJ Barron to get on the turntables, either him or Breakout to get on the turntables, and the other crew, the Little Brothers, are doing their thing. And I recall that they didn't have any MCs, but the crowd was kind of reactive, and they were responding to the music that the Little Brothers were playing, and they had a bunch of those skinny speakers, PV columns. So they had a bunch of these PV columns, and it filled up the room, okay, but it didn't have the thunderous, heart-stopping bass, and they didn't have the fidelity in their sound that the Brothers Disco had in their sound, but I wasn't aware of this yet. So the Little Brothers are playing, I believe it was DJ Aaron on the turntables, and so then Breakout decides that he's going to start testing their sound system, testing the Sasquatch, and which I had never heard yet. So he's listening in the headphones, and he goes to the crossover and only turns up the highs. And they have these tweeters, and they're on wires, and it's like 2 rows of them, and they're being held up by these wires tied to 2, I believe they were Voice of the Theater horns. They're like horns horn speakers on stands. They're mid-range horn speakers. Okay, so Breakout cuts in the record, and he goes to the crossover and only turns up the tweeters, right? Well, the tweeters were so loud, it sounded like a swarm of bees was in the spot. And just the tweeters alone from the Mighty Sasquatch was almost deafening enough to drown out the Little Brothers' complete PV sound system. Almost, right? So then, Breakout ain't say nothing on the mic. Nobody was saying anything on the mic yet. Breakout still, listening to the turntable. He's manipulating with his hands in the headphones. And then he lets the audience hear it again. And now this time he goes to the crossover and he turns up the horns. The voice of the theater horns. And the horns are absolutely screaming. Like if you had long hair and you stood in front of these horns, it would probably be blowing your hair back. Like, no exaggeration. And it was extremely pristine, so the sound was like crystal clear. All right? And then Breakout put on, from what I remember, I believe it was the Mexican. And the reason why I distinctly remember it was the Mexican was because when the Mexican comes on, it's the gondolas, and they're playing, and then so that part was playing out of the tweeters, and then when the bass dropped, doom, 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 he just turned up the bass on the crossover, and the Little Brothers, they was dead and stinking.
And
like
that was the
over.
era. That was the era of the battling of the systems and the MCs.
Right.
In '78.
Yeah.
So that was okay for a performance to be going on and for a whole nother group just to turn their sound system on and drown out a whole nother act?
Well, if you couldn't contend with your adversary's sound system, you shouldn't be competing.
And that's how we used to get them.
You know what I mean?
That's how we used to get everybody in New York City.
The only people who kind of could compete maybe was Infinity Machine from Queens. They were in Queens and they were disco DJs, but they had a monstrous, extremely pristine sounding sound system with thunderous bass as well. But in the Bronx, not many other people could contend with the Mighty Sasquatch, maybe with the exception of Disco King Mario and maybe at first Kool Herc. But then after a while, Kool Herc, with all due respect, he was phased out because the sound system, and he didn't have any MCs that could compete. So two things phased Kool Herc out. All right. Three things. The sound system, the DJs up in the ante as far as their ability to manipulate the turntables, cut and scratch and backspin, that sort of thing, and the fact that he didn't have any MCs that could really compete. So that phased Kool Herc out. So now, Grandmaster Flash, I came to learn about Grandmaster Flash as a result of the tapes. Prior to any of the DJs utilizing the techniques discovered and invented by Grandmaster Flash, and I'll deal with the other person that they named later, but because I'm a scientific person, I'm a thinker, and so if you didn't completely think through how you actually discovered this technique, and you can't explain how you came across this technique, and it doesn't make sense as far as scientifically, I don't believe you. All right, because every DJ who ever cued a record in order to cue the record, right? In order to know that you are at the cue point and the place where you're gonna let the record go, you have to rub the record first. So, Grandmaster Flash created the backspin. He also created scratching. But prior to that,
That's a bomb drop right there.
yeah, he created scratching. He did.
Right.
But Grand Wizard Theodore made scratching the highlight of his signature, right? Okay, but Flash created. So prior to Grandmaster Flash, Grand Wizard Theodore, DST, and any of those other DJs who did that, right? There was an era called the pause button tape era. And pause button tapes were cassette tapes in which there was a lead line of tape enclosed in the cassette tape that was clear. And the part of the tape that you recorded the music on, it was brown. All right, so the lead line of the cassette tape would come first. And so the DJs who aspired to be DJs but who didn't have either couldn't afford 2 turntables and a mixer, or maybe only had 1 turntable, they would pause the pause button on a cassette recorder, hold it down, and then make sure they wound the clear part of the lead line of their tape to the very beginning of the brown part where it touches the cushion in the cassette tape case, right? And once it did that, that meant that as soon as you let go of the pause button, your music was going to be heard immediately, like on the 1. It would come in on the 1. So that was the way that aspiring DJs who didn't have 2 turntables and a mixer made it appear or sound as though they did, right? They would go back and forth. So the first time that I heard Grandmaster Flash on the wheels, I thought it was a pause button tape, but then I would hear the zugga, him rubbing the record in between that. And so that perked my ears up and made me be like, you know what, I need to go see this. So that's the first time that I saw Grandmaster Flash and the 3 MCs at Benjamin Franklin High School on 116th Street in Harlem. And that was in 1977. 1978, pardon me. So shortly thereafter, when I joined, after the battle between the Little Brothers and the Brothers Disco, the Brothers Disco extended me the opportunity to be a member of their group. So I accepted, and we called ourselves the Funky4. At the time, when the Funky4 started, it was Grandmaster Flash and the 3 MCs, and we were the Funky4. And then very shortly after we became the Funky4, Grandmaster Flash and the 3 MCs added another MC, and they became Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 4. Okay?
So you could reiterate or testify to the fact that you guys and not any other groups were the first ones being asked to go downtown and to other clubs that hip-hop groups weren't being asked to go to.
Right, we were the first MC groups. There were no other MC groups prior to the Funky4, the 3 MCs, and the Furious 4. There were no other MC groups that I could say were cohesive units and were actually competing with us. No.
We were the first synchronized and organized.
Yeah.
Speaking of synchronized and organized, I want to ask you about this, because Rodney, where in the trajectory of all this did Double Trouble come about?
Wow. You jumping way from okay.
Because in my understanding, Double Trouble was in existence before the Funky4, but no, they weren't?
Nope. Okay, excuse me. One. Can you put a little high end on my mic? Because I sound flat as One, check.
He think he in the studio right now.
I mean, listen, yeah, there we go. All right, now y'all can hear me. Okay. Double Trouble was born out of the Funky4 plus one more. Funky4, okay, now, the original members, as you guys know, was the voice of KK, Keith Caesar, Sha Rock, Raheem. Raheem left the group. Sha Rock quit in protest. That left Keith and KK. I was with a group, and this young man sitting next to me, and we were with a group called the Magnificent Seven. We all come out of the same neighborhood. We had a record man. He was my best friend. His name is Kevin Hardy, and we called him Kevy Kev. And he used to hang out with a young man named Pookie D. And Pookie D was the record man for Breakout. And these three guys, Jeff, Kevin, and Pookie, used to play basketball together on different teams. When Raheem and Sha left the group, that left a void. So Brothers Disco started to have auditions. Because Pookie D and Kevy Kev hung out with each other, they told each other about each other's groups. So Pookie said, yo, there's two openings in the Brothers Disco for the Funky4. So it was suggested that I and Jazzy Jeff go and audition. And we actually went. And the story mirrors exactly Raheem's story about going over to Baron's house. Baron was laying in the bed. So KK brought us over to Baron's house. And KK says, yo, Baron, I got these MCs, right? So Baron gets up slowly. He comes to the turntable. He throws on a record. But he hits record on the tape. So KK starts rhyming. He passes it to me. I passed it to Jeff. Jeff passed it back to K. Eventually Keith comes in, and then all four of us are on the mic. And we're just going back and forth. By the time this tape finished, because it was a 60-minute tape, so we did 30 minutes. And by the time we finished, Baron goes, lay back down. So KK said, so Baron, what's up? Like, what's good? So then Baron comes out the room, and Baron says to me and Jeff, have y'all ever performed outside in front of a crowd before? And we said, yeah. He said, well, good, because we got a party today. It was Breakout's birthday, July 11th, 1979. So we consider ourselves as being Breakout's birthday gift. So this is the birth of what we were calling the new Funky4, right? And then about 2 weeks later, Sha Rock is back in the group. So because she left, she couldn't get her spot back, so she had to become the plus one. But it made sense because it was 4 guys and a female, Funky4 plus one more. Most people don't realize that we had 2 different names, Funky4 plus one more and Funky4 plus one. And the reason why we had 2 names is because we were signed to 2 different labels. And because of the politics and the politics, we ended up losing them all when we ended up with Sugar Hill.
And what I'd like to do, just because we're an educational show and we want a lot of the younger folks to understand, you, Rodney, were in the world's first hip-hop movie.
Yes.
As Double Trouble. And
yes.
I'd like to show this scene because this is widely regarded as the first recorded kind of like rap battle. Mm-hmm. Okay? So let's check out this, I think it's like the closing scene, right?
Yes,
yeah, so let's check out this scene. PJ, it's called Double Trouble, Little Rodney C and KK Rockwell. Let's throw to this video real quickly, and when we come back, we're going to talk to MC Jazzy Jeff about how he became a part of this unbelievable conglomerate of talented people. But before we do that, let's check this out. Wild Style, first hip-hop movie ever. Okay, that's an incredible scene, very historic scene. Everybody loves and knows that scene. Okay, but before we go on any further, okay, Rodney already knows about this. There was a remix that was done. So when he and KK were sitting on the steps, you know, just spitting a cappella, I guess they did cut that up years later and remixed it. I want to quickly just show everyone what it looks like. Huh?
No, go ahead.
I love this. This is so cool to me. This is some guy named Indigo Star. Okay, the remix of Double Trouble, Stoop Stars. Let's check out this incredible remix video from Wild Style.
Yo, man, but we gonna go to amphitheater and rock 'em, man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing to it but to do it. You know it, man. You know, 'cause we gonna rock 'em, man, 'cause we got the fresh stuff. You know it. Know that. You know it. Here's a little story that must be told about two cool brothers that were put on hold. They tried to hold us back, fortune and fame. They destroyed the crew and they killed the name. They tried to step on the ego and walk on the pride. But true blue brothers stand side by side through thick and thin from beginning to end. This battle we lost, but the war will win. 'Cause double trouble is in the house. I'm kicking rock and rock, we'll turn it out. Well, I'm kicking rock well, 'cause I raise a lot of hell. I love to make love to the judges, females, and down with the crew from off the hill. Well, I'm little rotten CN, please, I wanna name to go down in history. I wanna be greater than George Washington, 'cause I can rock any party from sun to sun. And together forever, we're number one. Double trouble is in the house, don't you know double trouble's gonna turn it out, y'all. Double trouble is in the house, don't you know double trouble's gonna turn it out, y'all. Double trouble is in the house, don't you know double trouble's gonna turn it out, y'all. Double trouble, double trouble, double trouble, trouble, double trouble, double trouble, double trouble, trouble. Yeah, can't deal with it, man. Ain't nothing to it. So what you gonna do, man? Yo, man, I'ma go over here, man, to get this brother a little rap, man, see what his head is all about. I'll be like that.
So there you have it, an incredible remix of the Stoop Stars. But before we go any further, because we're talking with Rodney right now, we have our historian, Jake Kwan, who wants to ask a pertinent question.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know, based on the conversation I had with, I believe it was Rodney, originally Wild Style was supposed to be a documentary about the Funky4. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Wild Style was actually a carrot. What happened was, we were signed to Sugar Hill. We had did Saturday Night Live. Deborah Harry was interested in the group. Deborah Harry wanted us on her label. So what ended up happening, we ended up signing with Sugar Hill, which meant we signed everything. You know, production, management, publishing, we signed everything to them.
Original 360. But
So
not
in order for Charlie Ahern and Fab Five Freddy to be able to do the documentary, they had to get permission from Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill didn't want us to do the documentary because Sylvia was too interested in keeping that lie that she told to the world covered. And the lie that she told was that she was the mother of hip hop, and like hip hop started with her. So we got the opportunity, we were asked, you know what I mean, if we were interested in, you know, moving with her. They went to Sugar Hill. Sugar Hill told them no, we don't want them to do the documentary. So they offered the carrot. If we get them on Saturday Night Live, would you allow them to be in the documentary? She wasn't stupid. She knew she needed that promo. So she said, sure, if you get them on Saturday Night Live, we'll let them do the documentary. We did Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
We're the first hip hop group in the world to do national television. Right. And after we did Saturday Night Live, they went back to get the permission, and she said no. And that's basically what broke the group up. Because at that point, I didn't want to be associated with her any longer. We had all discussed leaving, but you know, stuff happens, and you know, y'all know what the rest is.
Well, this is a perfect transition then. Let's because I want to talk to Jeff about this. Jeff, what are your recollections of doing Saturday Night Live? We're going to play the actual, video in a second, but, what were your feelings about going on national TV as the world's first hip-hop group on national television?
Well,
Grab the mic.
Well, mine was just basically, I guess, like the rest of them. I mean, all of us was just involved. They just didn't believe it. They just didn't grasp what was really happening. Because we was on tour, so they took us off tour, and then that whole thing came about. Just, I don't know, basically fell into the money.
Were you aware of the caveat that if you got onto SNL, then you'd be allowed to do the documentary? When you were on SNL, were you aware of that?
Well, I mean, yes and no. Some of us were, and some of us weren't. It was kind of like we were all in different feelings and places about really what was going on.
Well, this is one of the most historic moments in the history of hip-hop, actually, is this Blondie episode that you guys performed with. Let's play this immediately. This is the Funky4+1, the very first group ever on Saturday Night Live, and the very first nationally televised hip-hop group ever. Take this video away. Oh my God! First of all, wait a second. While we were off camera, Shaw Rock just blew my mind. Tell them what you just said to me.
Y'all, I was pregnant then. They ain't know. That's why
she was pregnant, and none of the group members knew.
They didn't know, but when they found out, they was mad.
Oh. You're messing with the money.
They was like, we gonna go on tour with Blondie, and you pregnant?
Turn
they
my
was
mic
mad.
on. Turn my mic on, because I knew, because that was my baby she was pregnant.
Oh my God.
No, don't do that.
Oh, what?
Don't
Breaking news.
Don't do that.
Oh, wow.
Don't do that.
No, I'm just teasing.
You don't play like that.
I'm not her baby daddy.
Don't
So,
play like that.
when I asked you about that,
don't play like that.
you had talked about...
Y'all won't hear no rumors from Chirac. Don't play like that.
Yeah, there's enough rumors flying, right?
No, not with Chirac.
Well, let me ask you something. I was
You'll
told...
never know nothing.
When we talked on air, you told me there was a specific reason why Blondie had asked you guys to go on tour with her, but then you couldn't. And didn't.
Well, I mean, because we were lawsuit. I mean, we were trying to get off Sugar Hill Records. We weren't supposed to sign again. There was a whole, different thing, guys. We had never received any money from Sugar Hill Records. I can talk about it because I filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of the Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, not Grandmaster Flash, but the Furious 5, Sequence, Sugar Hill Gang, Funky4.
Crash Crew.
Crash Crew.
That's right.
I'm the one, and they just found out.
Yep.
All the other groups that I named, I'm the one who seeked out a lawyer to retain the money that she never paid.
Yes.
I'm the one, and we're still in court to this day.
Still in court to this day.
Well,
And if Mel and them just found out, I'm the one who got their money for them.
Right.
They just found out recently because I reached out to Raheem. Raheem was the first person I reached out to. Go get the members with your group. I'll get the members with my group. I'll hit Cheryl up from the Sequence to go get them. I hit the Crash Crew up. And whoever joined the lawsuit got their money.
Well, what pissed you off more? Not receiving the money, or going on Saturday Night Live and her not keeping her word to allow you guys to do...
We wasn't
Wild
worried
Side?
about Saturday Night Live right then. We were young teenagers in the Bronx that all we loved was for the people to hear us in those parks and those streets. When you take somebody's heart and a love for the culture as kids, and thinking that one day we may be able to see that, we may be able to buy ourselves a Rolls Royce like you got in your yard, in front of your house, that hurts.
Yep.
It hurts simply because we put our trust in this record company. And you know, throughout the years, people be like, oh, you know, it happened to Motown, it happened to, okay, well, ain't nobody know about that. Our parents didn't know about that. You're talking about a major company, hip-hop company, that was going to set it off for every teenager that came out of the Bronx, and we never got paid for it. I wasn't worried about Saturday Night Live. I think Blondie, Debbie Harry for doing it, but I wanted my money as a teenager.
Yeah, who could blame you? In 1982, right after Saturday Night Live, you guys really started.
I still want my money.
Well, yeah,
and
you deserve your money.
And
you deserve your money.
I'm still in court.
That's right. Hey, let's play this video from 1982 because you guys really started to catch fire. Obviously, ironically, you know.
Before we play that video, real quick. Saturday Night Live put the Funky4+1 on top of the hip hop game at that point. 40 million households got to see us on Saturday Night Live. She wanted to dead that. She wanted to put that fire out. And that's why the group...
Sylvia wanted to dead that.
Yeah, because...
Why would she want the appearance but then be upset once you get the attention? I'm confused. Why? Because now people know you're not getting money?
Because the lie that she is the mother of hip-hop, right? The Sugar Hill Gang is her baby, right? So this is your first introduction for most people, the Sugar Hill Gang, right? Hip-hop is a culture. It's been going on in
Streets,
New York for years before she decided to get involved. So that lie she didn't want to be uncovered.
Exposed.
Saturday Night Live put us on top of the hip-hop pyramid at that point. And she had to make sure that didn't happen.
Well, that's why I wanted to play this video real quickly, because this is a 1982 advertisement for you guys performing at The Rink in Long Island. And I'm trying to tell you right now, there's no other ads this professional at this time.
With what's his name?
Yeah. This is
Mr. Magic.
This is the Mr. Magic show, but this is literally like, you're going to see it, like the most professional advertisement for hip-hop in 1982. Please play that video from The Rink in Long Island. There you have it, The Rink, Mr. Magic. I mean, that's as big as it gets in 1982. And, you know, we're not far off from their actual induction ceremony, the Funky4+1, but I do want to show a couple other things because, you know, two of these guys went on to entirely, you know, solo career and entirely other groups. First, I want to show this King Heroin video from MC Jazzy Jeff. Now, Jazzy Jeff, clearly a quiet-spoken guy, but his impact in hip-hop is not quiet. It's very loud, and the fact that you were so far ahead of the curve with music videos, solo career music videos, really just kind of shows that you guys, you know, were individually so powerful, collectively even more powerful, but still individually had so much talent. So let's show this video called King Heroin from MC Jazzy Jeff when he went solo right after the group's huge success there on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, it'll thrill you and cheer you, yes, and then it'll kill you. So pay attention, listen to this, and you'll learn your lesson. King Heroin, you know me. I was raised in the land called Poppy C. Well, I know by all throughout the world, by men, boys, women, all ages and girls. I've been used and abused by yes or so. Running with the politics, causing trouble for sports. Cause you use me once, you do it again, and if not by yourself, then with a friend. I have you sniffing, nod, I mess with your mind. I make you do it, commit all sorts of crimes. I make a full-grown man sick of his wife. I send a greedy man to prison for the rest of his life. King Heroin, you call me a drug, and yet you joke and smoke until you start to bug. I mean, spend all your money, you know you do, because you want me, you haunt me, you know it's true. I come in nickels and dimes for the kids in schools. I come in 50s and hundreds for the big up fools, cause I'm king.
Don't mess with heroin.
Just stop it.
King Heroin. Don't mess with heroin.
Please stop it.
King Heroin.
It's no good. So
First of all, if you dressed like that right now, it would be perfect. This is how the kids are dressing these days. It's all throwback vintage stuff. And I think it's kind of interesting to see that the kids are now dressing today the way everyone was dressing in the 70s and 80s.
Think about it, you got right.
It's literally cyclical. Like no one can think of any new styles. They just go back to what we were doing in the 80s and 70s. Listen, we have limited time, and I want to quickly, in a moment, get to the group you went on to, because I feel, just so you know, there's a whole nother induction ceremony that you're going to have to be a part of, okay? But Shaw Rock is doing something. Yes.
Yeah, real quick.
Where the hell is that coming from?
Not a question.
Oh, there he is.
I just wanna make a note that Jazzy Jeff, outside of Houdini, Jazzy Jeff was one of the first rap acts on Jive Records. Jive would go on, Jive Boogie Down Productions, Too Short, UGK, a plethora of groups. But Jeff, outside of Houdini, was one of the first rap acts signed to a major label. And even even DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince were on Jive, but MC Jazzy Jeff predated that.
Yeah,
so that was a big deal for...
That is a big deal.
And to come off of Sugar Hill and to go to a major label, he was one of the first to do that as well. And real quick, Geechee Dan had a question for Raheem. Geechee Dan wanted to know, did Raheem regret leaving the Funky to go to the Furious?
Today?
Okay, I understand. I understand, bro.
Not at the time.
Gotcha.
But in retrospect.
In retrospect,
I got you.
Absolutely.
I understand.
You know what I mean?
That's the voice of Jay Quan, our historian. And speaking of historians, Shaw Rock is doing something very historic. And she just flew in actually from Wyoming, where she's been on a Black History tour. And what she provides to this tour, in addition to her own credibility of being the world's first female in hip-hop MC, we would like to show these incredible one-of-a-kind flyers. If we can get a zoom in, it's going to be hard with the glare, but ooh, there's the very first hip-hop flyer. And she tours with these flyers. If you could hold this up just a little higher,
and some
Jeff,
people
if
may
you want to help
have,
her
you know,
just
some
a
of the
little.
flyers, but I know how to break them down. I know how to break them down. A lot of people say, you
Hold it
know,
up a little
that
bit.
they could do this and do that, but unless you was like really there, that's the only way you could break it down. Because if you get it from somebody else, that's secondhand information.
Where did you get all these flyers?
I mean, I had them. The Funky4 is on a lot of them. You know, like just in one, let's say just like in 78, we are in probably like about 15 to 20 flyers. Because that was the year when the MCs was on the ground.
Right.
78 is the year, y'all. 78 is the year that MCs were on the ground. 79, 1978, to me, I think that is the magic year, because that was the hardcore year of everything, was 78, because that's when everything was coming into play. You know, the graffiti, the cassette tapes, you know, and everything else that y'all may hear now. The records, you know, the MCing style, all of that.
What year did Buddy Esquire start doing the flyers? Because these
78, we were the first ones.
Because you're showing me flyers that look pre-Buddy Esquire.
Yeah, they are. No, Buddy, the brothers just on the Funky4 was Buddy's first flyers that he did. Yeah.
Shaw, real quick question, Shaw.
Yes.
I've seen several like birthday flyers for different MCs, but I've seen quite a few for you on your birthday.
Because every year, Jazzy D, and I want to send a shout out to Jazzy D, because he's also the one that is really like instrumental in ensuring that the Funky4 and the Brothers Disco had parties. When we talk about promoters,
oh, absolutely.
This is what people don't know. The promoters, he was the top of the line promoter.
And this is the brother of
DJ Breakout.
Right.
Jazzy D was the top of the line promoter. Because when you talk about African Bambaataa, he mostly stayed. Either if he wasn't playing with Breakout, maybe at Evander, he mostly stayed in Bronx River. Jazzy D took us everywhere, all over. Not just, you know, and these flyers reflected. It's not just, you know, the Bronx. We was everywhere. We was downtown. We was going into other people's areas. And Jazzy D was that promoter. And then you may have like Bambaataa or the Nubian Productions or Ray Chandler, but it was Ray Chandler and Jazzy D.
And Tiny Woods.
And Tiny Woods.
Those were like the top promoters for hip hop.
But Geechee, this is what we were saying this whole time, is that you're talking about an incredibly tight team you guys had.
The first
From
organized
Tone,
team.
who was helping you with the sound system and security, to Breakout's brother, who's doing promotions. I mean, this is mostly when you get this many people together, it becomes more difficult.
And let me tell you about the Bronx. The Bronx was
Just
crazy. The Bronx was crazy back then. Stick up kids, was running into parties, sticking up people, taking their jewelry, their chains, all of that stuff. I come from that era. I come from the era where we had to walk around with dead people on the ground in the beginning of hip hop. But guess what? Ain't nobody never came to the Brothers Disco Party and robbed us. Why? Because we had our security tight. That's
Listen,
how we were organized.
Listen,
We were tight.
the Funky4+1 deserved like their own 5-hour induction interview. Because here's the thing, we've only scratched the surface, and we've only scratched the surface. But in honor of everybody else that's being inducted today, we want to get to your actual ceremony. And I wish I could talk to you guys longer, but let's do this. While we're going to take a break here, and we're going to get them on stage for Jaquan to do their induction ceremony. Okay, my man Raheem went on to something kind of amazing, which is a whole nother show. And he went on to a group, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. Okay, I would like to just quickly show one of my favorite music videos from that group. It might not be everyone's favorite music video, but it's my favorite music video. It's Nasty is a video that is gonna make you feel like, wow, this is.
Yes. It could have been Sign of the Times, brother.
You ain't never lied, brother.
It could have been Sign
I'm
of the Times.
so happy it's not.
Listen, this video is so bad it's good. I'm gonna be frank with you. Looking back on it, it's kind of amazing. But it's...
Let me tell you,
go ahead.
In all fairness and honesty, we did not consent or even attempt to shoot that video. That video, the footage from that video was taken from a live performance and superimposed.
But you got green screen in the background. How did that happen?
I have no idea, but that wasn't our doing. All we did was we performed at a show, and then the next thing you know,
we had a music video.
Record label.
Do we know who the perpetrator was?
No, we know. Without us knowing.
They do that.
Okay, that makes this even cooler. Yeah. Well, let's play this video. We're gonna get him on stage and induct the Funky4, and then we're gonna do a ceremony for Shaw. But this is It's Nasty from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. Check it out. Yep, we are back, and we are with the induction ceremony of the Funky4+1. Right now, without further ado, I'd like to throw to our historian, Jaquan. Jaquan, take it away.
1, 2, 1, 2. All right, the Funky4. The Funky4 are synonymous with first in hip hop. They're one of the first organized groups in the Bronx, as we previously talked about, and in hip hop. The first group, and this is very significant, it may not sound like a lot right now because of where we are, but the first group to have separate microphones and microphone stands for each member. Because they used to do these syncopated dance steps, something like the Jackson 5 and the Temptations, who were their idols. So, again, there was a time when there was no stage for the MC. The stage was as low as what I am now, just a rope. And, it was one microphone. Everybody passed a microphone. Right? Each cat was the first for each cat to have a microphone, and the young lady that was there to have a microphone and a microphone stand so they could do these synchronized dance steps that they did. First group to have a smoke machine and a fog machine on stage. Again, it sounds small now because you've seen pyrotechnics and billion-dollar productions, but as teenagers, they took their own money and put it back in their stage show, bought a fog machine, smoke machine. These were serious young people about coming off a certain way with their production. First, again, 1981, Saturday Night Live, a big deal that Deborah Harry introduces them. First televised rap thing ever. first glimpse of hip hop to mainstream America, basically. As I talked to Rodney about, the first authentic hip hop movie was originally a documentary about the Funky4, and that was Wild Style. Also, the Funky4 introduced hip hop to the punk rock crowd. They took it downtown to the Mud Club, Soho, the Ritz, the Kitchen, as we saw in the video. These are the cats, you know, when you see Deborah Harry doing the, you know, Fab Five Freddy told everybody's fly. We see her doing Rapture. She met these people. She met this group of young people. Fab Five Freddy, all these people who became ambassadors of the culture, they were introduced to it via this group. So this is a very important thing. To understand the importance of the funk and their place in history, you need to understand the dynamics of what was going on in the Bronx at that time. Again, you had Hercules MCs, but at this time, whole rhymes weren't being said. They were just lines that weren't necessarily on the beat.
Right.
Between, at the time, the three MCs, Melly Mel and his brother Creole, Cowboy running with Flash, and this group of people, Funky4, they were the ones, and again, the Nomad Busy Bee running around with sawing everybody.
Yep.
Outside of that, not many people were saying full rhymes about themselves on the beat. Again, this group of people right here, almost solely responsible for that in the Bronx. The genesis of the Funky4, as I said on my piece about the Brother Disco, KK Rockwell joining DJ Breakout and Baron, performing under the name Breakout and Baron and the voice of KK Rockwell. Next, KK's best friend Keith Caesar, Keith joined the group. Then hip hop's first female MC, Shaw Rock. That's the order. Still really no name for the group. Still not four yet, and still not the Funky4. Then this gentleman to my right, Raheem, joins the group. He brings the element. Raheem is one of the first singers. When I say singer, Hollywood sang, groups harmonized, but they were almost like how you see Biz Markie sings, but it's not, you know, it's not singing where he could hold an R&B song down. This man, he'll go to the Juice soundtrack. Right. Listen to the Does Your Man Know About Me? He's an official R&B singer. Jailbait by Grandmaster Flash, or Grandmaster Flash. You go back to the Furious 5, to the Message album, You Are, you know, Dreaming. Those are official R&B songs where when they went into the studio with Ms. Robinson, they didn't need any training. This man is already, you know, Flash to the beat, you know, which has been sampled and redone by so many people. He brought an element of performance with the routines. Not that they didn't already have routines, but he brought an element of the polished singing and routines into the group where he joined. So at this point, they're the Funky4, as we stated. May of 1979 at the Webster Avenue PAL, Funky4 battled the Furious 5, or the Furious 4 at the time. Raheem left, joined the Furious, thus creating the Furious 5. As we said, soon after, Shaw Rock left in protest, as Rodney said. Breakout and Baron held auditions for members. Lil Rodney C and Jazzy Jeff from the Magnificent Seven. That makes it Funky4+1 when Shaw Rock returns. So you have 5 MCs now. Again, 2 different names for the group at that time. The group enjoyed success with records like Rappin' and Rockin' the House. One of the longest rap records, probably 15, 16, 17. Shaw Rock, 16 minutes maybe? 16 minutes, Rappin' and Rockin' the House. Enjoy Records. One of Pumpkin, the great producer Pumpkin, rest in peace, one of his first productions. I mean, it's just so many other things connected that we could be here all day, but that's just some of the most important points. That's the joint, Do You Wanna Rock? Feel It, the Mexican. Lil Rodney C and KK, again, Double Trouble on Wild Style. But also, they had a group called The Deuce. And they also had a record on Capitol. Exactly. What was the name of the group on Capitol?
It was called The Deuce. And
The Deuce.
The first duo to be signed to a major label.
First duo signed to a major label. Exact Capitol. But then you also were a duo under a different name on Enjoy.
Then we went back to Enjoy, and no, we used the same name.
The name The Deuce again. Okay. All right. So a couple of groups, spin-off groups within this one group, and of course, as we spoke of, Jazzy Jeff with his success on Jive Records. Again, very important. First MC, a solo MC on Jive, one of the first rap acts, period, on Jive. So there's so much more, but those are the points that stick out immediately in my head. So it is my honor. You know, I used to sit by the component set and listen to, and that's how long, you know, it was the component set back then. The record player that had everything on it, the radio, the tape, but that's what it was at the time. And I would listen to these guys, I wonder what they look like, because all the record covers, either it was Enjoy Records with the red cover with Enjoy on it, or Sugar Hill. I seen somebody in here earlier with a Sugar Hill record, and they had the blue logo. It was never no picture. So when they came out with the greatest rap hits and had a picture of every group, that replaced my superheroes on my wall. That album cover went on the wall. So it's a very personal thing that I'm very honored to induct the Funky4 to the hip-hop music.
Stand back there. And I'm Jeremy Beaver, founder of the world's first hip-hop museum, and I have the great distinction and honor to present you guys and induct you guys into the world's first hip-hop museum here in Washington, D.C. And now we'd like to just ask you for a couple words of acceptance.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to this foundation, you know, to want to induct us into, you know, their Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? It's not often, you know, that you reach a point where somebody else appreciates you enough to want to, you know, show you love and respect, and I think that's cool. And my name is Rodney C, and I approve this message. Rodney.
Yes, I'd like to say thank you very much, and from what everybody heard, we took it from where none of this existed, so I appreciate everything that's happening here, because we seriously come from a place where we really couldn't get none of this. Thank you very much.
My name is Raheem, and I'm good. You good? Raheem, and I just want to say thank you very much for acknowledging our contribution as a member of the Funky4. Thank you to the Brothers Disco for seeing the potential in me and my ability. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Jaquan, and thank you, Geechee. It was a tremendous honor. Yep.
Round of applause. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to go to a very, very short break with one of the rare...
No break. No break.
Geechee Dan.
No break.
Geechee Dan tape jams of the Funky4+1. And right after this very short break, we are going to induct the first female MC of hip-hop, Sha Rock. So stay tuned.
Well, I'm Sha rockin', I can't be stopped. So all the fly guys gonna hit the top.
Well, I'm Keith, but you can call me Keith Caesar. The reason why, cause I'm the women pleaser. Now, women boys before with the most finesse. Say I do it to the best until I do it the best. Now here's the Funky4.
And on the plus one more,
and this is the way we go back and forth. The 5 and C's that are too much. Reebok the mic, so with the mess you cut. We're on down, off the down, but with the D.I.B. in your behind.
here's four fly guys, I'm the best female. I'm telling the truth, not a fairy tale.
So just listen to the story that the 5 put down, and it's guaranteed enough to travel around. Now we said it once, so we said it twice. We're proving to you, now we're better than I. So let's go to work, and let's go to work, and let's go to work. Now when I say your name, man, I talk about the game, and I tell everybody how you got the fame. And when it's time to say, oh yeah, put you to the rhythm like you just don't care. And when you wait till a party for turn out, you be prepared for DJ Breakout. When you come on back, you wanna do it again, you be prepared for DJ Barry. When you come to a party to hear quality, you be prepared for the 5 MC. When you come to a party to hear Blind Cow, you be prepared for cake and rock. Well, come to a party to feel relief, you be prepared for my melody key. When you come to a party to hear history, you be prepared cause I'm literally free. And when you come to a party cause you wanna be shy, you be prepared for the girl shop out. When you come to a party to hear the band, you be prepared cause he's Jazzy Jeff. And when you come to a party to feel relief, you be prepared for my melody key. And when you come to a party to move your feet, you be prepared for my melody. And when you come to a party and you don't wanna go, you blame the dog. You just blame it all. I say you blame the dog. All the brothers just go. This is a little story we want you to know. Check it out, y'all. This is how we go. Stay sick, that go. We were on the go. Where I bought your shot on the disco show. With a short shot, I'm a boy, short shot. Cause I'm a young lady, use what you got. Got more MCs, got rock, jazzy, and the one else who can't compete. Put up on the mic and take control. We can take any party with the voice of soul. Cause when you watch the hand of don't the home. Because MC stand for mic control. And when it comes to that, we are the best. We can rock, south to east and west. No other power, can you understand? And we're in the party with the mic in our hand. We got it like that, we can do it like this. And don't stop for the MC list. I think we advertise, we mesmerize. And we specialize to antagonize. I think we qualify to neutralize. We'll make up the MCs apologize. We got the personalities about the young ladies. The authority, you rock to your knees. The simplicity for all of you to see. We want you to know the identity of the four MCs with the capability. Instead of rocking and represent society, we run a name to be preached to every nationality. We got style, that should be the almighty MCs with ability to rock on and on and on and on and on and on. We just did dive and socialize. Party to the rhyme with the four fly guys. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, just rockin', just rockin', just rockin', 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 rockin' for the win. So we make a little touch that'll make you move your butt and the bass will blow you away. Another fucking boy see for the young ladies, I'm showing up here to stay. Let me look us in the eyes and you get him a cotton, go up a little kid. Then we whistle on the mic so the bill polite, and it goes a little to something like this. With a fucking boy see with this, but I don't rock together, together. Rock it don't stop, it's time for a time for faster, faster. Love the MC, the bite out loud. You try to move with me, come on. Win with the ever let the fucking boy see.
And we're back with the Funky4+1. We've done the Brothers Disco. We've done most of the members of the Funky4, and now we're gonna do one of the most seminal individuals in the history of American music. And I really can't overstate this enough. So the best way to say it is to allow our historian, Jay Kwan, to induct our next inductee.
All right. Mic check.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Check, check. All right. Shaw Rock proudly holds the title of the first female MC of hip-hop culture. In her 8th grade year of high school, she was introduced to hip-hop by attending Cool Herc parties. She originally got her start as a B-girl or breakdancer, as many first-generation DJs and MCs did. Seeing Herc and his DJs and MCs say rhymes was her early inspiration to be an MC. When she heard that DJ Breakout was auditioning MCs for a new group, which at the time only had KK Rockwell and Keith Caesar as members, she auditioned and she got the gig. Shaw Rock immediately became the template for the female MC. On the circuit of clubs that they performed at, which included the T-Connection, Your Spot, Webster Ave, PAL, the Autobahn Ballroom, Ecstasy Garage Disco, and several others, she was the only female MC in a male-dominated genre for quite a time. In rap music earliest coverage in the mainstream media, Shaw Rock was chronicled heavily. The BBC's Hip Hop, A Street History documentary, 1981 Saturday Night Live, ABC's 2020 segment Rapping to the Beat, an appearance in the motion picture Beat Street with Us Girls, and many other pieces showcase Shaw Rock as the mother of the mic. Her vocal tone and cadence served as a template for female MCs to follow in the era before rap records and beyond. From 1978, the flyers that she was on served as concrete proof that Shaw Rock was the lone female holding it down on the mic device in hip-hop. Over the decades, Shaw Rock has been showered with accolades, awards, and recognitions, which includes honorary award from the City Council of New York for her involvement as a pioneering female MC, the winner of the Distinction Award, Essence Award about the Hip Hop Culture Center in Harlem. She has been the subject of several books written by noted authors and historians. And in 2010, she released her own autobiography, Luminary Icon. In 2013, she was appointed the National Director of the Cornell University Hip Hop Library Collection. She sits on the advisory board for the Universal Hip Hop Museum in New York that's slated to open in 2023. Additionally, the 12th District of the Bronx has ordained June 1st as MC Shaw Rock Day, so she got her own day. Lastly, the New York Transit Authority has replaced the subway map on 174th Street in the Bronx to honor MC Shaw Rock. Her industry peers such as Run DMC, Fat Joe, the Beastie Boys, Sean Combs, Fab Five Freddy, and MC Lyte have all labeled her one of the most celebrated female MCs in the history of the genre. It is definitely my honor to induct the first female MC of hip-hop culture, MC Shaw Rock.
incredible honor and privilege to bestow this honor upon you. And we would like to ask you, as the mother of the mic, to say just a few words in acceptance.
Y'all, I keep it short. I like to talk, but I'd like to thank everybody for coming out here today, you know, just to make this an intimate moment for all of us. I know the brothers Disco and the Funky4 and the Funky4+1 appreciate it. But I also want to thank y'all. I want to thank y'all because I think it's very important that we make sure that we archive the history of people that laid the foundation. Not even just laid the foundation, even for the people like, you know, Elder Sensei. I followed him. You understand what I'm saying? Even for me being an MC, it doesn't matter what era you come from. If you're an MC and you love hip hop, you're gonna rock with everybody that's prolific, that you think is prolific in that time. You're gonna respect their hustle. So I want to send a shout out to all the MCs that's out there, all the female women out there that's doing their thing. You know, I support, you know, everybody, but once again, I like to thank y'all because I think it's very important that you archive the history, because no matter what, 20 years from now, a different story will be told. And it's very important that we let everybody know the importance of the craft of all the people that were celebrated today. And as you say, I need to clear something up. I'm not the director of Cornell University. I just said as advisory member on the board, okay? Yeah. But also, you know, once again, let me go ahead and say that, yes, New York in the Bronx has made MC Shot Rock Day. It's really June 1st, but I'm going to celebrate it this year on June 6th. So if y'all can come out, I want you. People are traveling from all over. I got, of course, Breakout and Baron's going to be the DJ. Red Alert is going to be the DJ. Chuck Chill Out, and also my homegirl Rod Digger is hosting it. You know, and so and it's going to be in the park, outside in the park. It's a free event for everybody. We'll have the Mighty Sasquatch out there trying to make sure that we have the free food for everybody. And we just take it back to the streets and the parks where we just have fun. Okay? So there'll be a lot of different people coming through. You know, as the flyer goes on, you know, the people coming in, I'll let y'all know. But I know y'all out here in Washington, please just make it. I made it easy for y'all to get there. It's a number 2 train. All you got to do is walk 1 block and right there in the park. Okay? Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm humble. Thank you. Thank you.